Kaspa Crypto, why the F does it keep going up? One of the top performing coins of this bull market so far, and definitely one of the most talked about on YouTube. And yet I go across to YouTube and there's very little information detailing why this coin is so special. So I decided to make a video on why this coin is special, as well as whether or not it has the ability to flip the likes of Solana or AVAX in the future, because if it does, the gains will be astronomical for Kaspa holders. So do me a favor, hit the like button, and let's dive into today's video. Now guys, we look across to the Kaspa charts, and you can see that since launching in a bear market back in September of 2022, Kaspa has seen astronomical gains towards the upside, making early holders huge gains in crypto. So paying attention to these charts, it looks like I need to go and find myself a Coin Bureau video telling me more about what Kaspa is. And yet searching for videos on YouTube, I get hit with Kaspa's going to do a 500x, or you only need to hold Kaspa to be able to make massive gains in crypto. So I'm like, well, let's find out a little bit more about whether Kaspa is as special as everyone's saying and just how big it can go. So the first stop for us should be coming across to Kaspa.org and finding out a little bit more about this particular project. The fastest open source, decentralized and fully scalable layer 1 in the world. Okay, you've got me interested because layer 1s can see massive ecosystems grow around them, like Solana and AVAX, which we'll cover later on. And then I see the world's first blockDAG, and I'm like, okay, you've already lost me. So let's find out what a blockDAG is. So first things first, we need to understand what Kaspa is trying to achieve. Well, if Bitcoin was digital gold, basically a store of value, then Kaspa was aiming to be the digital silver, basically where you could use it for peer-to-peer transactions. Now, Bitcoin was originally designed as a decentralized method for peer-to-peer transactions, but ultimately it's too slow and also too expensive. Therefore, if you're going to go and try and buy a pack of chewing gum or something else, then it's probably not suitable because the transaction will take too long and cost too much. And there's a reason behind this, because Bitcoin's proof of work blockchain is linear. It means that each transaction has to go through a line of blocks, therefore leaving a bunch of other blocks redundant or orphaned. Kaspa, on the flip side of things, uses what's called a direct acyclic graph, which, if you can look into this rather scrambled looking picture, you will see that various different transactions can be moved from one block to another without having to stay in a line. And just by looking at this, you should simply understand that basically transactions can happen in various different directions. And the difference is Kaspa uses those orphan blocks to be able to set up parallel transactions. These parallel transactions mean that multiple transactions can be passed through and the block times are significantly faster, taking around 1 second per block, which means that this blockDAG technology benefits from the security and efficiency of a proof of work blockchain and now also benefits from the speed, which according to the Kaspa's website means that they've achieved solving the blockchain trilemma, which is decentralization, scalability and security, because typically with many existing blockchains out there, such as Ethereum and Solana, you might be really strong in one particular area, but perhaps lack in another. So this all sounds perfect, leaving Bitcoin as the digital gold, the store of value, and then Kaspa as the decentralized, efficient, fast cryptocurrency that can be used for payments. Not only that, but one of the other major components behind Kaspa's success perhaps is the fact that it is also fair launch and open source, in the same way that Bitcoin is. And the white paper itself identifies the strength in the Nakamoto consensus, which is what's behind Bitcoin, and then aims to address the limitations of that and try to build upon it by increasing the block times from 1 second compared with the 10 minutes it takes on Bitcoin. And if we come across to the developer circle, you can see that the blockchain confirmations comparing each of these different chains shows that Kaspa is pretty fast with 1 second to finality, but not quite as fast as Solana, which is 400 milliseconds per block, which I guess means kind of fights against this first statement on the Kaspa website. But let's continue. And I come back to the paper that's all about fair launches and all these good things, and then I dip back to YouTube and I see everyone shouting for Binance to list Kaspa. There is actually something that perhaps you should be aware of, and that many kind of cryptocurrencies that are kind of more about the people than perhaps about the VCs that obviously Kaspa doesn't have can be sometimes anti-Binance. So if you're wondering why Kaspa is yet to list on Binance, there is perhaps a chance that Kaspa as a team aren't really interested in indulging Binance and feeding into that kind of ecosystem of what crypto is becoming that maybe the original kind of OGs of crypto don't really like so much. But while Binance might make a good thumbnail, it doesn't necessarily mean that without it, Kaspa's limited to not being able to see explosive growth. Okay, so just how big can Kaspa go into the future? Well, at the moment, over on coinmarketcap.com, Kaspa is listed as a $4.2 billion market cap, which when compared with other leading blockchains such as Avalanche at $12.7 billion would be a 3x to that valuation. Solana at $83.4 billion would be about a 44x for Kaspa to achieve that same level. And obviously you've then got Ethereum, which is significant significantly bigger as well. But Ethereum has been around for significantly longer than the rest, and I guess so is Solana and AVAX. As we look across to the Solana chart, we can see that Solana has also had a phenomenally strong bull market compared with many others out there, and is continually showing growth. Avalanche as well has shown times where it's seen significant growth and then dips, and at the early part of this year also saw a big growth towards the upside. So it's worth going across to DeFiLlama.com and identifying some of the catalysts that have been behind driving Avalanche as well as driving Solana. Now, whenever you look at Avalanche, you can see the total value locked at $1 billion, which is obviously pretty significant. But what we want to pay attention to is this, the volume. You see these green lines here? This is daily volume on Avalanche. And we can see in the last bull market, we had a big surge. Then sort of through 2023, particularly into the end of 2023, we saw a big surge in Avalanche. And when was that? Well, this was the end of 2023. We saw a huge amount of surge of activity on Avalanche. That was obviously very positive. We also then saw partnerships between Amazon and Avalanche, and that meant the whole ecosystem was also blowing up at that time. And as you look into Solana, you'll also see something different. The volume on Solana is absolutely ludicrous right now, and that's been driven by the meme coins. But that doesn't mean necessarily that without volume on Kaspa, that Kaspa can't grow. Because if we look back to the last bull market, you can see that Solana did have significant growth with very little volume going on. And we can talk about what that might mean for Kaspa slightly later on. Because if we jump across to Kasp.fyi right now, you can see that the real-time transactions are around 1 to 2 per second at the moment, which is just a fraction of what's going on in Solana and the likes of AVAX. Okay, so can we anticipate a significant number of transactions going on to Kaspa? Well, at the moment, it's limited in transactions per second because it's a newer project and it's continually upgrading. Therefore, in the future, there is potential that it will be able to handle more transactions per second. But what is Kaspa really being used for right now? Well, at the moment, it is a peer-to-peer payment solution, and it doesn't have at the moment EVM compatibility. Therefore, it remains a peer-to-peer payment solution without having the ability to build decentralized applications on top of it. So that potentially could be a little bit limiting in whether or not it's going to be able to see huge transactional value being created in the near term, or at least in the next kind of 12 to 18 months, which is when the bull market will likely run. But if we jump back to Solana, remember Solana had a very impressive bull market without even seeing a significant amount of volume going on, and mainly being on speculation alone. Therefore, Kaspa can continue to have a great bull market even if it's just on speculation alone. Now, what other things do we need to consider when looking at whether or not we should be investing in Kaspa right now? Well, the Kaspa emission schedule. You'll notice that Kaspa is currently an inflationary asset with around 90% of tokens in circulating supply. That's pretty healthy, and there will be kind of a number of tokens added over the kind of coming months until the bull market is finished, but it's only going to be a couple of percent and it isn't really going to make much difference to your investment in Kaspa. That's something that is really important when you're looking at like the unlocks on particular cryptos. It shouldn't really be that important if the unlocks are due to happen significantly down the line after the bull market's already over, because by then you've sold up and you're out. Who gives a crap whether it's inflationary or not? So then we're on to the subject of what catalysts are behind the drive of Kaspa right now, and just how big can it go in a bull market? Well, if you look into what affects token price in a bull market, you will see that there are two things. If you've been in crypto for 5 minutes, you will realize that it's not just fundamentals that drive a particular crypto project, because if you go and look at meme coins, they have zero fundamentals and yet manage to accrue billions of dollars worth of market cap. But we can compare between bear markets and bull markets. During a bear market, coins with much stronger fundamentals, such as Bitcoin and Ethereum, don't tend to perform so badly, going down maybe 50 to 60%. On the flip side of things, a lot of speculative memes and things like that have the ability to dump more like 90 to 95% because they lack the fundamentals. However, in a bull market, you can see that speculation almost alone has the ability to drive a lot of excitement into a cryptocurrency, and that could be a positive thing for Kaspa. Now, another thing that I've been wondering for the life of me that is behind driving cryptocurrencies like ICP, like Kaspa, like Jasmy, like XRP into growing these hugely passionate communities, I think is that they all have kind of supporting foundations. They're much more community-driven projects than perhaps other projects are out there, and that I think has had a knock-on effect into bringing more people into the Kaspa ecosystem. I believe that there's various rewards programs available for Kaspa and people who talk about Kaspa literally every single day, and I assume that that's why they will continue to push more and more Kaspa content into the ecosystem. Not only that, but as Kaspa continues to climb, it will continue to have a kind of a positive kind of feedback loop where, you know, the price goes up, people talk about it more people then have exposure to it, more people then buy it, the price then continues to rise. And considering right now in the crypto markets that we don't have really that many kind of retail investors in the space compared to like top levels of the bull market, and here's proof of that. If you go to viewstats.com, we talked about this on yesterday's video, you can see that Altcoin Daily here, one of the biggest like beginner-friendly channels in crypto, was getting around 2 million views in March. It's only getting around 100,000 views at the moment. That tells us that there's been a big drop-off in retailers, and retailers can flood back into the system at any time when Bitcoin effectively gets going, and that will have a big knock-on effect and could potentially drive coins higher, the likes of Kaspa, etc. Because where do retail investors go looking first? Well, they go straight down the rabbit hole and they go to YouTube and they look for the biggest 500, 400x on the thumbnail, and they go and click on that one. And that will then convince them that they need to enter the ecosystem, and then this continues to see growth. But there is another thing that's going to happen during this bull market. You will start to see other coins having extremely strong performances. You probably, if you've been paying attention over the last 6 months or so, have been like, at some point, extremely bullish on the likes of Tau Potenza and Render, on GPU Node or whatever it is that Alex Beck has been chatting about. Or suddenly, at some point, you've been extremely bullish on meme coins, and then suddenly you've lost kind of excitement and attention in them, and you've gone back to whatever the most exciting thing on the day is. And I know you do this because you go to cryptobubbles.net and you're like, wow, what's going on with Dog with Hat today? I need to go and buy into that, and AVAX and whatever. So the biggest green bubbles of excitement on any particular day are where you get your attention drawn. And there's only going to be more projects that are going to get more exciting and whatever during the next few months. And if Kaspa isn't so much of a unicorn and the other coins around it are gaining attention, then perhaps that could have a little bit of a negative knock-on effect into Kaspa, which appears to be more speculation driven. And of course, you could compare it with Solana from the last bull market that literally did 25,000% in just a few weeks. And you could say that, well, that Kaspa has this tech or that tech and has the ability to do similar things. But that was at a time when there wasn't really other layer 1 blockchains entering the space, and that really Solana was not a first mover like Ethereum, but was perhaps one of the earliest imitators. And after that kind of initial kind of early speculation phase of growth, Solana then saw perhaps another 5 or 6x. And that should be a very key thing to pay attention to. Bearing in mind that at that time, Solana was more of a speculative thing. People were excited about Solana because it was so much faster than Ethereum. It had all this and all the other bits and pieces that were going on with it. But at the time, there wasn't a huge amount of transactional volume in the market at all, which meant that the speculation was what was driving the Solana price. And eventually, that's what cooled off. But for those who are paying closer attention, you'll realize that the Solana market cap around here is significantly bigger than if Kaspa was to go and do a similar kind of number of multiples to get to this level. But remember, there are so many more new projects out there now. Money is more dispersed into different projects than perhaps we want it to be, and that could be a limit to seeing how big some projects will go into the future. Another key element to think about is that a lot of the growth and gains that came out of projects like Solana, when suddenly they wake up out of nowhere, was driven by none other than venture capital funds who basically buy in down here. They went to the price to kind of creep up. They wait till there's liquidity in the market. They inject a load of their own capital in to cause these massive pumps towards the upside, where then loads of retailers will pump in, VCs will eventually exit. Therefore, if the VC is not entering down here, there's no VCs to inject the liquidity at the crucial time in the market, like right now, that could perhaps be a little bit limited. And there's an argument against that as well. The other meme coins that haven't been VC driven, which is very few these days, because most of the favorite meme coins you're talking about are all basically owned by the same cabal. We're talking the likes of Brett, the Pepes, etc., all literally from the same people who are doing these same dirty tactics the VCs are doing, can perform by just having loads of excited people entering the market and buying into a particular coin. So looking at the Kaspa chart, how would I treat this if I was already an investor or I was looking to invest in the future? Well, it's pretty evident, judging by how Kaspa's performed so far, that it has very strong runs when crypto in general is moving well. It would be therefore no surprise to see Kaspa continuing towards the upside over the coming months, along with Bitcoin. However, you've got to be aware that there was a lot of people who were buying into Kaspa down here who are already significantly in profit. And when like 99% of the people who've invested in a particular project are in profit, it can lead to projects being a little bit less stable. I think because of the lack of transactional volume, etc., that we're seeing over on DeFi Llama, that we're not going to see a particularly big shift in this coming in at least the next 18 months, by which time this bull market is likely to be well and truly finished. Therefore, it's pretty evident to me that Kaspa is speculation driven. Therefore, I think the idea of going beyond a 10x from current prices in Kaspa would be pretty outrageous. But this chart looks incredibly bullish right now. You can see your high lows being put in. We can see that we've been running up into this area multiple times, and we would see a break kind of beyond these highs coming soon. Therefore, how do I feel? Well, if I was involved in this coin back here and I'm already up 20 to 30x, then yeah, by all means, I would be hanging on perhaps for another couple of X's, but perhaps looking to maybe take some profits along the way. If I was looking to enter into Kaspa right now to see astronomical gains towards the upside, I'll be a bit cautious because we've already seen significant upside in this coin, and I think a 10x would be very, very generous if I was invested in Kaspa, but a 10x is still damn good. But perhaps during the next bull market, Kaspa could have an incredible run towards the upside, and I think it's more than likely that if it could start gaining adoption and build in various other features, like the ability to make it EVM compatible and build dApps on top of it, then I think we're going to see some very exciting things happening for Kaspa. But before that, this is a lesson for not only Kaspa, but for pretty much all of crypto. This was the Netherlands back in the 1600s, and these flowers are called tulips. At the time, people decided that tulips was something that they should be starting to invest in, and everyone started to invest in tulips. And that meant that over a period of time, the price of tulips went up astronomically as everyone out there decided that they needed to buy tulips and tulip bulbs because they were extremely valuable. And everyone else speculated on this as well until eventually they realized that maybe the tulips weren't as valuable as they thought they were because the people who were buying tulip bulbs down here started to sell them off. And you can see that this is very similar to the Fear and Greed Index, where as you go higher and higher and you start to get more and more attention, people start to get greedy and delusional and more excited until everyone thinks that this is going to replace traditional payment solutions, and this is going to happen and this is going to happen until eventually people down here start to take profits and everyone realizes that it was just a Dutch tulip bulb market bubble, a famous market bubble that crashed in Holland during the 1600s when speculation drove the value of tulip bulbs up to extremes. Therefore, be very cautious about coins that are growing more from speculation right now than coins that are growing from fundamentals, because when it gets to the next bear market, those coins that are heavily pumped by speculation will suffer the most first. So hopefully that's been of use to understanding a little bit more in detail what Kaspa is and whether or not it has the growth potential into the future. I recommend checking out Virtual Bacon's video on Kaspa, which is significantly more in detail from the tech side of things and some things I've referenced in this video that will help you to learn more. Because if you're just paying attention to the videos on YouTube that are telling you to keep buying and keep buying, that means that you will get trapped in this bubble at some point, whether not now, but somewhere down the line, and you need to smarten up if you want to win in this game. Now, if you wish to go and buy Kaspa, well, there's few better places to do it than over on CoinW, which is linked down below in the description. And you can make up to $25,000 in trading bonuses by going through the link down below in the description. And the most exciting thing about signing up through my CoinW link, well, you'll be sent an email where you can then go and join our trading signals group powered by CoinW, where there are experts in here sharing their trades every single day. There's various trading education, as well as being able to ask these expert traders all your favorite trading questions, as well as whether or not it's a good time to be getting into certain coins. So hopefully that's been of use to you guys. Make sure you hit the like button if you're new to this channel, and if you want more down-to-earth crypto content with realistic price predictions on where particular coins might go, then make sure you subscribe to the channel to keep up to date with everything I'm talking about. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a good one. See you later. Bye-bye.